Welcome to the Third Win channel, where today we're starting a new series, episode tier lists for the seasons of Victorious. If you're familiar with this channel, you'll know that we've done these for Drake and Josh, for Zoe 101, for iCarly, so you can check those out if you're interested. But today, like I said, we're talking about Victorious. And here's our tier list, and here is our upgraded tier list with my own tiers. Here we like to have favorites, flash iconic, great, good, okay, and could skip. In this video, we're going to go from could skip to favorites and iconic, so bottom to top. So we'll leave the best stuff for last, and we'll kind of try to go through the worst stuff a little quicker than usual. So let's get into the first of our 19 episodes that we'll cover, which is Wi-Fi in the Sky, which I have put as the worst episode in this episode. Oh, this episode in the channel. Okay, Wi-Fi in the Sky is basically Tori and Trina get stuck on a plane and they have to finish a school assignment and they Wi-Fi on the plane, and these kind of weird video chats start to form with them trying to finish their assignment. It feels like a bit of a meh episode because the plot is literally just finishing a school assignment on video chat. And I mean, I'm tired of this right now with Zoom and stuff, but you know, it's okay. It's entertaining enough, but honestly, it goes down as a could skip for me. I just think that there's much better, and I don't know. This felt like a limited episode. Moving on, we have our okay episodes. So our first okay episode was the BIRTHWEEK song. So the premise of this episode is quite good. Like at the beginning, where Tori has to find Trina a gift. And I think she comes up with a really good gift, which is a song written by, I believe, her and Andre. And I think it's a really good song. And then Trina's like, okay, but where's my gift? And obviously she has to become a materialistic snob. And from that point on, this episode goes into this wormhole that I think is pretty boring. We've seen it before from Dan Schneider. It's like the whole record deal, blah, blah, blah. I think it was done better on Drake and Josh. And here it just didn't translate as well. And the whole $500 for the song, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was all just a little bit too much and a little messy. So yeah, I think this episode was just okay. Maybe that comes as a shock. Next, we got a film by Dale Squires, which I rewatched now because I couldn't remember what this was. It was a bit of a weird title, and I read the synopsis, and I was just, what was this? And then I remembered, yes, it was this kind of Drake Bell-esque director that comes. He's a celebrity, and he basically helps them shoot a film, but he doesn't help at all, and the gang shoot it all themselves, but then Dale Squires takes all the credit so that the gang plot against him, and then he gives them credit right before their revenge comes in, which is Andre's cousin. And I think that this episode, it has like, 7 minutes of them in the auditorium, like, announcing Dale Squires, and then 7, like, the rest of the episode basically with them supposedly working together with him, but they aren't really make the whole thing by themselves. And then you really get the juicy stuff at the last 5 minutes, and it just makes for a bit of a, those last 5 minutes were really good and funny. I love Andre as a cousin, but it wasn't good enough in the middle and in the beginning. I thought it was a bit boring. So it goes into okay, but it was better than I expected. I like how the gang took charge and made this great project, blah, blah, blah. Let's move into our next okay episode, which is The Wood. The Wood is Victorious' own reality TV series, but it all goes awry when the producers of the reality TV series begin to mix up facts and say that Tori and Jade are actually fighting over Beck, and yeah, it's they don't like that, obviously, so they stage a bunch of stuff, which gets the poor what's it called, the food guy Festus to go through all sorts of trouble, like his car being broken down or getting injured. That was funny, but overall this episode was just a kind of, I guess, I don't know, it was a reality TV show episode. It wasn't super great. It's okay. Like I said, I'll go through these bottom ones a little quicker. I just think it's a little messy, maybe. Next, Kat's new boyfriend. I think that the guy in this episode is pretty uninteresting, and the whole ex-boyfriend thing is This is also the episode where all the feet and the fish thing happen, so I know a lot of people are angry about that. Me personally, it's just whatever, but it is kind of weird. Otherwise, the whole thing where Tori goes on and kisses Kat's boyfriend and all this. This is often an episode where the Tori haters kind of pin it on Tori, like she's a bad person for this, and she is a bad person for it. But I don't know. I think this episode is just a little conflicting with a lot of others, and it just feels a little weird to me. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in okay. I think it could be a lot better. Next, we got Walkstar, which I like the premise of Jade kind of proving herself in a play and then getting rejected and then needing to go for help from others. And I think the only thing that ruins this episode really is the same reason that it ruins it for the characters. It's the really annoying restaurant owner and her daughter. So if we could have used a lot less of that and more focus on the play, I think it would have been good because I like the play. The what was it called? The Well of Tears or something. I thought it was or Wishing Well or something. I thought that the play itself was very well written, and I liked Jade's confrontation with her dad. Not confrontation, but her dad finally accepts her art, and I think that's a beautiful moment, and it's a really funny interaction as well. And I like how I think Jade and Tori, like from all the hard work they did to get that out, they even hug. Like that's a rare occurrence. I think it happens like twice in the whole show. So yeah, it's a good moment for Jade. I just wish we had a little bit less of a mess in terms of the middle of the episode. Moving on, our last okay episode is Beck's Big Break. The reason I put it in okay is because I think we have better Tori Beck episodes coming in the future. Some that I can think of right away. So I think this episode is the worst of them. And again, they bring in like a celebrity, and oh my god, it's kind of a theme in season 1. And I just think it's kind of like it's not. She doesn't do it for me. This episode again is a little slow, and I think it deserves to be an okay. But I've breezed through that stuff because I want to start talking about the good, the greats, the iconics, the favorites. So let's get into our good episodes. First off, we got Rex Dies. So this one, you could debate putting it in okay, because it is also a little messy and a little goofy and silly, and the gang seem just as irritated as someone in the audience might, with them going to the hospital for a doll. It's like Robbie grow up, right? But the reason why it's a good episode is it's really important for the character of Robbie, and I think it's worth mentioning. I don't know. I think and also it's an entertaining episode with a lot of fun little moments. So yeah, I think it's a good episode. Moving on, but on the edge, right? Moving on, we got the DIDDLY-BOPS, and I think that this episode could go an iconic in a different video with the costumes, because I think it's been memed. But in this video, I think that it's a really good episode I love the costumes, I love the reactions of the kids, blah blah blah, and this favor for SIKOWITZ, performing as the DIDDLY-BOPS, causes Andre's career to get stinted because he had gotten an opportunity to work in the industry, but this whole video surfaced and they're like, come on, man, really, we're gonna hire someone who did the DIDDLY-BOPS? And then he proves himself with a performance with Tori of a song he wrote, which kind of rewards him. So I think it's a really good episode. It's got all the things you need in an episode. And I really enjoyed the DIDDLY-BOPS. So yeah, it's a good episode. Moving on, some funny jokes about the costume as well. Moving on, we got the bird scene, and this one I think is well written, but maybe it's a little not as exciting as a second episode could be. But I think it introduces Tori to the school quite well. She has to learn to act. She has to design her locker. But yeah, I really also love the concept. Like, it's one of the best written stuff I've seen on the show, where in order to prove yourself as an actress, you have to be confident what you're doing. So you have to basically say, no, I did a good job on this scene. And that's how you pass the bird scene. It doesn't matter how you perform it. You just have to acknowledge or kind of prove that you believe in yourself. So I think that's a really good message, and therefore this episode is definitely at least good. Maybe it should have been in great, but I think it's a little maybe slow-paced for a second episode. Moving on, we got this stage fighting episode, and this is one which is really more of a Tori Jade episode, and that's where the students learn to stage fight properly, and Jade plans this whole thing where she makes it seem like Tori hit her, and there's blood on her eye and a black eye. Oh yeah, and Tori gets in trouble for this big time, detention and cleaning up and whatever. And but eventually someone throws a water balloon by accident at Jade, I believe, and the makeup for the bloody eye and the black eye washes off. And what that means is Yeah, everyone finds out that she was lying, including Tori. I think the teachers don't know, but Tori doesn't plan on telling anyone, which is a great show of character. And I think that this is what solidifies her place in the kind of friend group with Jade, because they kind of become friends. She's like, oh, wait a second, Tori's not so bad. Because she did start off quite rocky by kissing her boyfriend and blah, 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 right? And Jade kind of bullied Tori. But I think that this is a great spark for the relationship between them, and kind of Tori proving herself as a friend and as someone who won't snitch. Let's move on. That was a good episode, but now we got great episodes. We got favorites. We got iconics. These episodes have just that extra spice to them. They have plot. They have excitement. Blah blah blah. Let's see. First, we got the Great Ping Pong Scam. So the Great Ping Pong Scam is just filled with this kind of at first it's quirky and mysterious, and they're withholding this whole club from Tori, and even Sikowitz is involved. And I think that's really funny. And I love how Tori proves herself again. And at the end, where Robbie orders caviar, and it's way too expensive, and Tori and Andrea have to get them out of it, they perform a really good song. I think one of the best from the show. And I don't know. I thought that moment was so funny, so sitcom-y, but very, very funny. So definitely a great episode. I think it has a lot. It's well paced and it has a lot of wacky stuff going on, which is really exciting. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Okay, moving on. Our next great episode is Tori the Zombie. Tori the Zombie is one that you look at the title and you're like, wait, what's going on here? There's gonna be a zombie, but it actually works out quite well with her having, you know, the whole episode is based around her making this play and needing to take it off the mask. So basically, Trina and Kat get on this team to go to the glue factory because the mask won't come off, and they have to come back in time for Tori's play. And it works in perfectly with Tori's play because she's playing this kind of beauty role, and there's going to be a critic there, and she kind of manages to turn it into like a Beauty and the Beast and see your inner beauty and blah, blah, blah. And it works out really well. So I also think it's really intense. Like you're at the edge of your seat until the end of the episode to see if Kat and Trina, this really wacky combo, which I don't think you can rely on for anything, needs to get this glue to get it off of Tori's face, which I think is, yeah, a really good way to write the episode. It keeps the audience interested. So yeah, great episode. And lastly, in great, or arguably also iconic, should be Survival of the Hottest. I think this episode is kind of, I guess, Victorious' solution on the whole. Like, Zoe 101 had this episode called Pandemic, where they all got stuck in one room and they had to live with each other. And we learn a lot about people when they're in one room and they're a little bit frustrated. Here, everyone is hot except Kat. We'll talk about her in a bit. And people are hot, they're frustrated, they have to share like the smallest amount of water. So all these conflicts begin, all this kind of honesty begins. And I think it's a really good device for any show in a season one to kind of establish and show the characters in this kind of very dry environment. I think it actually makes for some of the best stuff in a show. So yeah, I think this episode's great. Minus the stuff with Kat, I thought that was kind of silly, but yeah, I just remember this episode fondly, and I think it's a good one. So yeah, great episode. And lastly, we're moving into our top 5, and that is our favorites and iconics. And yes, you already saw, our number 5 is Freak the Freak Out. Freak the Freak Out is, I remember it mostly for that one scene, you know, where the girls challenge the two Northridge girls for so basically like, oh, if like, let us back into the club if you can choose anyone in the audience, and if they beat you in a singing competition, then you have to let us back in, blah blah blah, right? And of course they set it up so that Tori looks, you know, I guess unattractive to a Northridge girl, and she comes on the stage and she completely nails it, taking off the disguise one by one, and it's kind of like a don't judge a book by its cover kind of story. And I think that moment is one of the best in the show. The rest of the episode is good too, but it's just maybe a little bit more slowly paced, and a good song, Freak the Freak Out, as well. So it has to go in Favorites Iconic because it just has that moment is really important for the show. I don't know why. It's also the only 1-hour episode in this season. Moving on, we have Jade Speck. And I saw that this episode is featured in a lot of like top 10 Victorious episodes ever. And I don't know if I'd go that high with it, but I think it is really important to understand Jade and Beck's relationship and Jade's jealousy and Beck's kind of weird love for Jade, because how Jade gets Beck back kind of is by remembering a gift idea that Beck wanted, which was not a gift idea, but something Beck wanted, which was a Rottweiler. So she lets the Rottweiler loose in his RV as a surprise, but it turns out his dad was there and he gets mauled. But Beck takes back Jade back for some reason, anyways. Which I guess is the only downside of the episode. We don't really get a Beck explaining. I think we don't really get him explaining why he takes her back. But other than that, it's a heartfelt episode about this, very fiery couple. And I also like how we get to see Beck's home life. He explains his home life. My rules, my roof. The RV, like what his room might look like. So I think there's a lot of fun details in this one, and definitely an iconic episode. Next, we got the pilot, which is obviously going to go in iconic, and this is our third best episode of the season. And yeah, it's a great way to kick off the show. I love the introduction of Tori and how they involve Trina in it as well, and her replacing her. I think it's brilliantly done. We get our theme song in this episode, and when she actually gets into school all shocked and surprised, her first day is pretty terrible, with Jade bullying her and treating her like a dog and then pouring coffee on her. But she gets back at Jade by kissing Beck in a scene. So I think it sets up all this rivalry and quacky character stuff quite well. And it's just an overall very entertaining and well done pilot. It breezes by, paced very well. Moving on, we have ROBARAZZI. ROBARAZZI is, I guess it's like a personal pick for it has to be an iconic, it has to be one of my favorite episodes. I think even the subplot is very good. And the subplot is like cat buying stuff from the Sky Store, which I think is super funny, just buying all these random things. And then even at the end, she asks Sinjin for the credit card when people are, when they take away the Sky magazine from her. I think it's really funny. And then, yeah, ROBARAZZI, I've talked about this episode in a previous Victorious video I did, which talks about it's a series on this channel called Angels and Devils, and we talk about how evil characters are. I put Robbie right at the top because this episode proves that give Robbie power, he'll betray his friends in an instant. And yeah, I mean, he really goes in. He tries to embarrass his friends, and that's the main source for him. But of course, they get back at him by embarrassing him by making him run down the hallway basically naked. And yeah, it turns into a cooking channel. But ROBARAZZI has spawned plenty of memes. I think it's a really entertaining episode. It's great to see Robbie in this more animus state. So yeah, favorites iconic for sure for me. And the number one episode in this season, kind of unquestioned for me, is Sleepover at SIKOWITZ'S, where we get to see the full cast except Trina, but I'm not too worried about that. Portray different characters in a competitions where they get knocked out one by one, which I think just makes for the most exciting episode possible. And I love how we get Tori as the Raisin Bran cop, we get Jade being the nicest person. So a lot of contradicting things here, which I don't know. I think it's fantastic. And Jade even remains in character when burning her hand on a pan. We also get SIKOWITZ'S tricking Robbie to get knocked out, which I think is brilliant. Like all this like tiny details. I think it's well paced, exciting. We get all of our characters. We expand on our characters because we again get them in this environment, and I think it's just such an entertaining episode. Yeah, but that's season 1. There were a lot more okay episodes than I thought there would be. Some of these were a little slower than I remember them, and but otherwise it was a great season. We got a lot of really great episodes here. So yeah, that wraps it for season 1. Season 2 coming soon. Let me know what you guys thought of this video and what you guys thought of season 1 of Victorious. But in the meantime, you guys, if you'd like, you can go check out some other Nickelodeon content on this channel. And yeah, thank you for watching the whole video at this point if you're here. And yeah, this has been the Third Wind channel, and I'll see you guys soon.